Welcome, everyone, to Influential Leadership Tips. I'm John Hadley.
And I'm Dave Miller, here with.
Who's your little buddy, Dave?
I haven't given him a name yet. Let's call him George D. Influence. I don't know. We have to think of a name for him.
Okay.
Appearance for your video, so I'll put him right here.
Okay, so today I was reading an article this last week, and it had something that I really resonated with. This was an interview with Deirdre Quinn, the chief executive of Lafayette 148 New York, which is a women's fashion company. And she made this statement in the interview: biggest pet peeve, people who are late. And she said, when I say a meeting's starting, don't be late, I close the door. And that got me thinking, a lot of us have worked in cultures, companies where really there is a meeting culture, where lots and lots of meetings are happening.
I remember those days.
Yeah. And how could you change things if, as a leader, you started operating differently around meetings and you made them effective, you made them start on time? So I was thinking that, one of the ways that you can really set yourself apart is just some simple steps around meeting management. Like you always start on time. Doesn't matter who shows up late, you've already got the meeting going. You don't, one of my big pet peeves is when you walk into a meeting and then someone starts recapping for the person who's late. So you just wasted the time of everyone else there. And this happens particularly a lot when the senior person walks in. So
that's one of the problems. That was a question I had as you were talking about this, is that, you start the meeting on time, but how many times have you found that one of the key stakeholders of the meeting isn't there?
Right.
Starting.
So the only way you can change this is by creating a culture where people know, hey, if I'm late, I'm missing out. And there's an expectation. So one of the things is, if you're the leader, okay, show up on time to begin with. But suppose it's one of your subordinates having a meeting and you show up 5 minutes late unavoidably, and they start recapping. Don't let them. Tell them right away, look, I was late. You're not wasting everyone's time by recapping for me. You can catch me up afterwards. And make that your practice. Get your boss online with this too. Make it, everyone in your operation knows how meetings are going to work, and you can kind of change the perception of meetings. And I had a slide with just a few thoughts on this that I thought would be good. Okay. And sharing. There. Be on time. Don't recap for those who aren't. Don't let the leader recap for you if you're late. Cut them off when that happens.
Good.
Bring your boss on board for this too, so that they're prepared. And then always end on time. Have a set time that you've said, this is how long the meeting's going to be. End early if you can, but never go late. If you go late, schedule another meeting. And one of the reasons that people are late in meeting cultures is because the meetings are scheduled for an hour, for 2 hours. They're scheduled so that they're back to back. So make sure you schedule your meetings to always end at least 5 minutes before the hour, so people have time to get to the next meeting without being late. Make sure.
You would think after 12 years of school we would learn that. Like we always had time to go from class to class when the bell rang, but we don't do that in the workplace.
That's right. You always get the people saying, "Oh, I'll be there. I got to go take a bio break, and then I'll be there." Well, okay, let's build that into the schedule. Have really clear agendas and stick to them. Use the parking lot concept that people say. They start to take the meeting off track a little bit, and you say that's a great point. We're going to put it on the parking lot, and we'll schedule something to deal with that, so that you don't get the meeting and the purpose of the meeting off track. and always recap and distribute all decisions and actions that are made. Make sure that everyone walks out of that meeting absolutely clear on what's been decided.
Yeah.
So that you don't have people saying, well, I never agreed to that, or forgetting something. Because that just
Right, which means you also have to allow time for that recap too. So
Yep.
when you plan your time, you have to allow 5 to 10 minutes to recap and make sure we're all hearing the same thing. We're leaving with that.
Right.
Most people don't do that discipline, but that would really make a difference in productivity.
Yeah. In fact, there was, I can't think of the name right now, a famous admiral who, was it Rickover? He was known for the fact that he would have an agenda, he'd have a written agenda, and as they went along, he would write down the decisions that were reached, the actions that were agreed upon, and before they left the meeting, he'd actually send it around and everyone would have to sign it so that there'd be a record that everyone had agreed to this set of actions.
Now that's discipline.
Yeah, that is real. That's more than I'm capable of, perhaps. But I think if you could do that, you could really change things. And just think of, if you were to avoid the 5 minutes of gathering at the start of each meeting, and you actually start right on time, and figure what you get 4 meetings in a day, you just saved yourself 20 minutes a day right there. And if there are 5 people on average in each meeting, think of how much time you are freeing up for more productive activities by doing this. And you'll get people wanting to actually participate in your meetings because they see them as effective. You will change a perception of you as a strong leader.
I'll throw one more tip in here that one of my clients did. Mm-hmm. Something for people to think about. Why do meetings have to go an hour? We kind of have that as the default. He started making his default 30-minute meetings. Mm-hmm. And it was amazing how you got down to business. They were very much more focused, and right. Meetings could fit in a half an hour.
Well, there was also the concept of making meetings stand-up meetings. Take away all the chairs, because nobody wants to have a long meeting when they're standing up.
Right.
Now, there are lots of cute techniques you can apply to try and do this. There was the fad of saying make your meetings start at odd times, like 5:07 instead of 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
I think part of the reason for that was because people were late. So you make it a different time where people have time to get there. But my challenge to everyone would be, okay, think about, what are you doing in the way you manage meetings, and what can you commit to doing differently over the course of the next 2 weeks to start changing your perception of as a leader in the way you conduct meetings. And send us any other ideas you have on ways to make the meetings much more effective. Maybe we'll do some more on this at a future point with the ideas that you all share with us. So that's what I wanted to share today. Thanks.
Good tip, John. That's really important.
Yep. And we will talk to you next week.
And until then, be influential.